You weren't born to suffer. You weren't born to wake up broke, beat down, bitter, and barely making it. And yet, here you are. You don't need another excuse. You don't need another lucky break. What you need is the brutal truth. You're still broke because your mind is. Money doesn't just live in banks. It lives in belief, in vision, in relentless focus. And the reason you've been stuck, spinning your wheels, praying for a miracle that never arrives, is because you've been programmed to survive, not to win. You've been trained like cattle, taught to obey, taught to wait your turn, taught to take the safe path. But safety is the slowest poison ever invented. Look around. The richest men in history, Carnegie, Rockefeller, Ford, Edison, none of them waited for a golden ticket. They burned the bridge behind them and built the future with fire in their chest and faith that refused to die. You're waiting for motivation. You're waiting for certainty. You're waiting for the world to believe in you before you believe in yourself. That's why you're still broke. Everything starts in the invisible. Everything begins in the mind. A poor man sees with his eyes. A rich man sees with his vision. You look at your bank account and say, "This is reality." No, that's not reality. That's just a receipt, a result of your thinking, your habits, your decisions, and your mindset. You've been hypnotized by circumstance. But listen to me. Circumstance is not destiny. It's a mirror. And what's reflected in that mirror is not your potential. It's your pattern. Your pattern of giving up. Your pattern of making excuses. Your pattern of playing small and calling it humble. And the harsh truth, you're addicted to struggle. Because struggle feels familiar. And to the unconscious mind, familiar equals safe. So even when opportunity knocks, you slam the door shut because the unknown feels threatening. But the unknown is where wealth lives. It's where all the power, the freedom, the legacy, waits for the few bold enough to step into it. Napoleon Hill said, "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve." But he didn't say just think it. He said believe it. And belief, real belief, is backed by decision. You can't tiptoe into success. You have to decide like a general at war. No retreat, no surrender. That's belief. That's faith. In motion. But most people, they hope. They wish. They say they want to be rich, but their actions are rented, not owned. You can't lease your dream and expect full ownership of the outcome. You must believe in your vision so deeply that the world feels fake until it matches your mind. Here's the thing, you don't need more hustle. You need clear direction. A man with a plan will always beat the man with more talent. Why? Because clarity compounds. Without a clear, burning, soul-deep vision, you're just moving, not advancing. Every distraction pulls you off course. Every opinion becomes a weapon against your purpose. But vision, true vision, is ruthless. It says, "I will become who I must become, no matter the cost." When Disney built his empire, people laughed. They said animation was a joke. He mortgaged everything, even bet his future on a mouse. Why? Because he saw something no one else could see. He wasn't chasing success, he was creating it. And until you do the same, until your vision burns hotter than your fear, you'll keep chasing scraps, instead of building a kingdom. Money without purpose is just paper. Success without direction is just noise. And here's the bitter irony. Most people stay broke, not because they lack opportunity, but because they lack a reason to rise. When your purpose is weak, your discipline will always collapse. But when your purpose is burning, you'll walk through fire. You'll sacrifice sleep, comfort, approval, even your old self to honor that deeper mission. You think wealth is about numbers. No, wealth is about identity. Until you stop identifying as a struggler, a victim, a hard worker who never gets a break, you'll never become the man or woman capable of building an empire. Purpose gives pain a reason. Purpose gives struggle a meaning. Purpose turns broke into becoming. But you have to dig deep and ask, what the hell? Am I really doing this for? What legacy am I leaving behind? What message is my life screaming right now? And if the answer shakes you, good. That's where the transformation begins. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is self-respect made visible. It's how the wealthy wake up before the world does. It's how they build when no one's clapping. It's how they win in silence long before the noise. You keep waiting to feel like it. But champions don't wait for emotion. They build habits. They don't chase motivation. They become machines of momentum. Every time you hit snooze, every time you delay that plan, every time you say, I'll start Monday, you reinforce the identity of the man who settles. But every day you show up when it's boring, when it's hard, when no one notices, you build the identity of the man who cannot be broken. Discipline is spiritual. It's not about getting more done. It's about becoming someone worthy of the life you say you want. Hill didn't write Think and Try. He wrote Think and Grow Rich. Grow, not wish, not beg. Grow through discipline, through struggle, through relentless self-command. Until your habits match your ambition, you'll stay broke. Not because you lack talent, but because you lack alignment. You can dream. You can visualize. You can journal your affirmations. But without action, you're just another philosopher with empty pockets. Wealth is attracted to speed, not recklessness, but decisive movement. Ideas mean nothing without execution. A man who acts on one imperfect idea will always outturn the man who contemplates 100. You say you want to be rich, then show me how fast you execute. Show me how quickly you turn a decision into a move, a failure into a lesson, an obstacle into fuel. Most stay broke because they wait to feel ready. But readiness is a lie the ego tells to keep you safe. You don't need to be ready. You need to move. Ford didn't wait until he had the perfect engine. He built, he failed, he improved, over and over, until the world had no choice but to notice. Success is not an elevator, it's a ladder, and every rung is a step of action. One cold call, one pitch, one post, one meeting, one launch, one risk. Until you move your feet, you'll never move your life. Now let's talk about the paradox that traps most dreamers. They want more, but they hate where they are. They resent their job. They resent their bank account. They resent their struggles. But you cannot build wealth from resentment. You can only build from gratitude. Gratitude is not passive. It's not sitting in the corner chanting thank you while your life burns. It's a warrior's mindset. It says, I may not be where I want to be, but thank God I'm still in the fight. Gratitude sharpens your vision. It silences the noise. It reminds you that everything you're going through is shaping the version of you who's ready for more. You can't curse the soil and expect a harvest. You can't despise the season and demand abundance. You have to find power in the small. You have to be rich in perspective before you're rich in money. You think wealth is just digits. No, wealth starts with how you see, not just what you see. The world is changing fast, and the broke stay broke because they cling to what used to work. They fear change. They reject new ideas. They guard their ego like it's treasure when it's the very thing keeping them in chains. But the wealthy, they adapt, they pivot, they learn, unlearn, and relearn faster than the rest. When the markets shift, they study. When trends emerge, they explore. When the world screams impossible, they whisper, watch me. Adaptability is intelligence in motion. It's humility and hunger combined. It's knowing that who you were last year is not enough to conquer this year. Kodak went broke because it refused to evolve. Blockbuster died clinging to a model that no longer served. And if you keep living with yesterday's mindset, you'll bankrupt your future, chasing a past that no longer exists. Adaptability doesn't mean abandoning your values. It means honoring your vision over your comfort. Every wealthy mind is forged in fire. They didn't get there clean. They didn't get there perfect. They got there, resilient. They were laughed at, rejected, bankrupt, betrayed. They lost sleep. They lost friends. Some even lost their sanity. But they never lost the mission. Resilience is not about bouncing back. It's about rising different. Rising wiser. Rising harder. Rising with steel, where there used to be softness. Lincoln failed in business, lost elections, suffered tragedy, but he kept rising. Because resilience isn't an act, it's an identity. You think failure is final. Only if you stop. Only if you make it mean something about you, instead of letting it mold something new. Get back up every time, with deeper focus, sharper vision, stronger faith. Because if the storm can break you, the wealth will never reach you. The broke think they know enough. The wealthy know they never do. It's not the degree. It's not the certificate on your wall. It's the relentless hunger to learn, to improve, to outgrow. The version of yourself that's keeping you broke. You don't get rich by memorizing. You get rich by mastering. Mastering how to sell. Mastering how to lead. Mastering your emotions, your time, your energy, your thoughts. You know why most people stay stuck? Because they confuse information with transformation. They binge books, they scroll motivation, they nod their head at every quote. But their life doesn't change because they don't apply. Carnegie read, Ford studied, Edison failed forward thousands of times. They didn't seek comfort in knowledge. They chased power in execution. You want a better life? Then earn it by mastering yourself. Study your patterns. Study your fears. Study your habits. Because the man who understands himself becomes a weapon in the world. He no longer reacts, he responds. He no longer wanders, he walks with aim. And the universe opens doors for the man who walks with direction. You don't need more content, you need command. Let's strip it bare. You're still broke because part of you is still comfortable being broke. Part of you is still afraid of responsibility. Part of you is still scared of standing out. Part of you still thinks small is safe, and success is selfish. But listen, there is nothing noble about staying poor. There is no trophy for struggle. There is no honor in hiding your potential, because the world taught you to settle. You were not born to be a servant to bills, to debt, to doubt. You were born to rise, to build, to lead, to create wealth that frees you and blesses others. You keep saying, I'll start when I'm ready. No, start now before you're ready. Start now while your voice shakes. Start now while your bank account mocks you. Because if you don't start now, you never will. One day, you'll look back and either be grateful you began or broken that you didn't. The cost of staying the same is far greater than the risk of becoming who you were born to be. Burn the backup plan. Delete the excuses. Starve your distractions. Feed your focus. Cut ties with the part of you that plays small, hides, hesitates, and hesitates again. Because no one's coming to save you. No mentor, no book, no miracle. Only you. The you who believes without seeing. The you who acts without fear. The you who rises without applause. That version of you is already inside, waiting, and the moment you choose him, everything changes. Not instantly, but inevitably. Because the truth is, wealth is not something you chase. It's something you unlock when you finally become the person who can hold it. So get up, not tomorrow, not next week, now, because this is why you're still broke. But this right now can be the moment you never were again. There is a version of you that cannot be broken, not by rejection, not by failure, not by loss, betrayal, poverty, or pain. That version of you doesn't flinch when the world doubts him, because he has already died to the old life and been reborn in purpose. You've been running from discomfort, but wealth lives inside discomfort. Everything you've been avoiding, the risk, the rejection, the grind, the late nights, the early mornings, that's where your new life hides. the truth. You've already paid the price to stay broke. You've paid in stress, in sleepless nights, in silent regret, in soul-level shame. But what if you paid that same price toward your growth? What if you suffered for a season, but came out on the other side, free? You don't need more reasons. You need resolve. Resolve to wake up early. Resolve to study while others scroll. Resolve to sacrifice comfort for legacy. Resolve to become the kind of person no one can ignore, not even the universe itself. Because once your mind becomes unbreakable, your bank account won't be far behind. You are not here to blend in. You are not here to survive paycheck to paycheck, hoping someone notices your potential. You are here to make a mark that cannot be erased. One day they'll tell your story, and they will not talk about how hard it was. They will talk about how you refused to break when everything told you to quit. They will talk about how you rose with fire, how you looked your circumstances in the face and said, "You don't own me. I do." The truth is, you don't leave a legacy by living like everyone else. You leave it by breaking the cycle, by doing what your father didn't, what your environment couldn't, what your past said was impossible. You leave it by becoming the first, and making sure you're not the last. Stop saying I don't know where to start. Start anywhere. Start messy. Start afraid. Stop saying what if I fail. You're already failing by doing nothing. Stop saying it's not the right time. The clock is ticking, and you're not getting it back. This is your line in the sand. Right here, right now. You can stay broke, mentally, spiritually, financially, or you can decide. Decide to rise. Decide to rebuild. Decide to own your mind and everything it creates. You're not broke because of your job. You're not broke because of the system. You're not broke because of bad luck. You're broke because deep down, you haven't made the decision to be anything else. But now, you've seen the truth. And once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. You can't unhear this. You can't go back to sleep. The fire's been lit. And if you're brave enough, if you're ready to trade average for excellence, excuses for execution, doubt for destiny, then stand up. Not physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Stand up. Take the first real step. Cut the lies. Kill the comfort. Command your future. Because this is the moment you stop being broke and start becoming wealth.